player not working today is Derek Nagy. Everybody else will practice. Leo Chenal.
You have a future at it?
Oh boy, he did. He did. He handled the ball and got it out there, you know, to the 30 or 35. It's nice. It's good. We'll take that field position.
Before we look forward, I mean, just looking back, how extreme were those conditions and what you guys had to execute?
The most extreme conditions I've ever been in. I mean, and I was at Chicago for 9 years. We had some cold games, but that was a whole nother level. So, I mean, it was awesome the way our guys handled it. I thought, you know, the kickers, punter, and snapper did a great job, and everybody else had the right mental attitude coming in, the whole team. It was impressive. I was proud of those guys.
What's your experience in Buffalo? Is that a pretty tricky place for those guys?
Yeah, it's usually windy. I mean, it's pretty much, you know, this time of year. I'm not sure I ever played them this late. I mean, the last time we played, I can't remember exactly when that was, but I mean, no fans there last time we were there. You know,
Early in the year.
was it early in the year? Yeah, but you know, so I mean, the weather's going to be a factor again. It sounds like it'll be like 24 degrees and maybe 10-mile-an-hour winds. So it'll be something we have to deal with. Not as bad as what we had, but you know, that's the good thing about that game. I mean, nothing will ever compare to it. So you know, you can always say you did that. So you know, we're good.
We kidded around about Leo a little bit, but what earned him that spot?
On the back end, I mean, they're back there because they're blockers. They're not back there because they're you know, threats. But they have to be prepared for like what happened with the squibs and stuff. We were this close to going to a whole different scheme there, but we only ended up getting 2. I didn't think they would kick again to it because they were kicking with the wind on the second one, and they kicked it a kick to us again short. So, I mean, I thought they would try to kick a touchback there. That's why those big guys are back there. And then we were getting ready to change to something different after that, but we just never got another one, which is, you know, you always want more kickoffs than you do kickoff returns. So it was a good thing.
What did you feel like Butler's range was on field?
Yeah,
Just going
that's a
to
good
that
question.
one to the right.
Yeah, we had 35-yard line with the wind on our back, and then 30-yard line with the wind at our face. So
when you guys went
four-
for it on fourth down, that
48-53. That's what we're
wasn't
looking.
even really close then. I mean, it would have been like 56 maybe.
Yeah, it was out of our range. Yep.
With that, back to that Leo thing, you guys try to practice everything, but how often do they actually get to practice picking the ball up and
We get one a week. It's a different guy. We don't kick it to everybody. We don't have time to do that, but we'll pick a guy out and just, you know, kick a squib kick down to one guy. You know, Leo's had a little bit of practice at it before.
What are the Bills' special teams like?
The first thing you got to think of is their punt returner. I mean, Hardy. I mean, he basically won that game for him. We talked about that before, the Miami game with the 95-yard return, or you know, that he had in that game. That was huge for them. So he's a threat. He's probably the number one thing that you have to deal with. The kicker struggled last week, but he'll bounce back. You know, the punters pulled the hamstring on that block, so you know, they signed Matt Hack to the practice squad. So we're preparing for both kickers, and they're different because Matt's a lefty and the other guy, 8, is you know, he's a righty. So that's 2 different things, 2 opposite, you know, spin on the ball, and so we have to practice for both guys.
They did have a rough special teams day. They won because they did have that kick block. Was that just a good play by Pittsburgh on that?
I think it was it looked like a low kick. It looked like the ball came out of there a little low because, I mean, the guy had his hand up and hit him in a face mask. So, I mean, you know, it was a low kick, I think, no question.
Without having a lefty punter, how do you practice?
We have a jugs machine that goes left and right. So we've already practiced already once with for left. As soon as we found out they signed Matt, we started practicing lefty because we're always been, we didn't, that's the first lefty we've may face. We hadn't had a lefty all year. But our jugs machine goes back both ways, so we can.
Bring Colquitt back to practice. Doesn't.
No.
Any
outside today?
We were trying to get outside, I know that. The field, I mean, it was so cold that the field froze, you know, so, and we've been trying to heat it up with the, you can see the bubble and stuff and with blowing heat under it, and I'm just not sure it's getting there, so if it's a little bit icy, we'll probably end up going inside, so we'll see what happens. We'd like to get out.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks.
Afternoon, all of the above, right? How's everybody doing? We got a heat wave out there, that's what it feels like. I think we were gonna try to get outside, but I don't know, I think the fields. Yeah. Anyway, not a lot to say other than happy to be back here another week doing this. Hopefully we're doing it again this time next week, but with that, I'll just kind of open it up.
Steve, a lot of your continuity, a lot of your success this season has been the continuity, but Tranquil, Menahue, and Edwards, I think, have made a big difference. I wonder if you could speak to the sort of collective impact they've made, but maybe if you could speak a little bit to what each one has done
Yeah.
individually.
To me, the most impressive thing with those three guys, especially Mike and Drew, because of the positions they play and what you're needed mentally to pick up everything, has been as good as I've probably had in a free agent, two free agents coming in. Charles, it's a little bit different because it's D-line. It's not quite as taxing, but, and, we lost Charles for a little bit. But those three guys, and what's really nice about that, you ask that question, it just kind of pops in my mind, and the credit goes to Brett Veach and his guys, but that's one at each level. If you could bank on doing that every year in free agency, wouldn't that make a huge difference, right? But they've been, listen, and Brian Cook, let's not forget Brian. I mean, that's a starter that we don't have now. And yet I think Mike has stepped in there and we haven't skipped a beat in the chemistry. We know what happened when Nick got dinged and we didn't have to back off in anything, not in scheme or the way we played because Drew stepped in there. So I think what they did stepping in, I think speaks volumes to how important they've been.
So you talked a few weeks ago about Sneed coming to you at some point during the offseason and saying, hey, I'd like to travel with the number one guy from the other team.
Yeah, I might have gone to him because I had that in my mind the whole time. Well, I think the conversation was, I said to LJ, if we can have the right nickel, that then we need to get you out, and then that's when Trent developed.
I thought he said actually.
He may have. Yeah, probably the both of us.
At any rate, was that a tough decision? And what goes into that?
To have him.
Yeah. And what are the pros and cons? What went into
Yeah,
that decision?
not really. I mean, the only con I can think of is we all know how effective he was at nickel, right, with the pressures and things that he did in there. But because Trent has stepped in and does I don't think we've lost anything there. And I just think LJ is the kind of guy that loves a challenge. And when you say, hey, I need you to go cover that guy, that's as big a challenge as you can get as a DB in the NFL, right? We need you to take that guy out of the game. And he embraces it. And you all know he's done a great job with it, really has. Now, you notice even last week, was it evident to you guys that Tyreek early in the game was starting on one side and motioning over to the other? It felt like, there was a reason why he was doing that. And that, I would anticipate some of that same thing. I mean, these guys do that anyway. But that's one way people try to do it. But LJ's been, I have no idea why he hasn't gotten the kind of recognition that still befuddles me. I don't want to go down that road right now, but I'm real proud of him. I love, LJ is, him and I are tight.
Steve, pressing Tyreek Hill is always a pretty big risk because if you miss, he blows right by you. What went into, was that the way LJ?
Yeah, just listen to trust and confidence in LJ, and that is, to your point, that is the way he plays. That's what he likes to do. That's what he's good at. I've said this before that, when you're a pressed corner in any system with any team, sometimes your efforts and what you're doing really goes unnoticed. Because if you're on that guy and doing what you do, the ball doesn't even get thrown there. And so it goes someplace else and maybe somebody else gets the PBU or maybe we get a sack because he couldn't throw it to the guy. But LJ does it as good as anybody. I think he does it as the best in the league.
Back to Edwards for a second. Can you take us to the extent that you can through the interception and what the sort of the safety action was on that?
Yeah. The one we got in this past game?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we were in man under. We were in some version of man, and he was back deep. Didn't Tua scramble a little bit, and then it was overthrown, right?
It was over.
Yeah, it was a little bit overthrown, and I forget who was covering. Maybe Justin Reed or somebody had who he was throwing to.
Yeah, I think he's referring to the pre-snap.
Yeah, well, we call it a toggle. I mean, we do that in some of our coverages where we have spins, toggles, twists. We have a bunch of different moving pieces. And going back to Mike, and I'd add Justin Reed in there and Brian Cook when he was here, those guys, to be able to do all that and have it come out right in the end is a credit to those guys, But we do that on purpose in hopes to maybe get a little bit of a confusion,
So speaking of all the different things, like how much more are you able to do this year 2 with all those young guys?
Yeah.
Versus what you had last year, and how do you, is it just a feel on when to keep layering on more
Yeah.
and more and more?
Yeah, it's you get to this part of the season is you don't go too far away from what you are, but there always is a wrinkle. I mean, Andy talked about that in the team meeting this week, that all 3 phases are going to have some wrinkles, because when you get to this point in the season, everybody knows you, and everybody's studying you. And we've played Buffalo before, so you got to have something a little bit different. And if you're in the position in the playoffs and you need to do that, it's nice to know that you got cerebral guys that can roll with that. And they do embrace it. Our guys like that. Like Nick doesn't want vanilla. Drew doesn't want vanilla. Justin Reed, those guys they want to be challenged mentally. They want to challenge the opponent's offense, and not all guys are like that. I've coached guys before that just like, I just want to play man or play post, and just let it roll. But these guys are great that way.
You guys have faced the Bills a bunch of times now, with this quarterback and a lot of the same wide receivers and all that. What are the main challenges in dealing with the quarterback to start with?
Well, just about everything. The size, the arm, the mental aspect of it, and then you add in his running ability. To me, when you put that tape on and he's running, and the way he makes people miss at 6'5" and whatever he is, to me is amazing. I don't know where you've ever seen that. I mean, some of the other athletic quarterbacks in the league, but he can be he could probably play fullback in this league, tight end, right? He could probably be an offensive tackle, a defensive end, a linebacker, and be an all-pro at all of them. I mean, I'm really not kidding if he wanted to do that. But he happens to be a quarterback that can throw the ball real well. To me, they've become really challenging. The run game now is surfacing with Cook. They got both their tight ends now. I think tight ends are hard to take out of a game. In some regards, it might be when you can find a wide out. But these 2 tight ends, and having 2 of them, and then you throw the quarterback in there like you're talking about, it just makes it extremely difficult to defend. And we just got to be on point in the things that we do, and we're going to need all 11 guys wherever the ball ends up, whoever they give it to. Sounds simple, but I mean, it's hard to do.
You mentioned jamming, jam Tyreek Hill, one play where L'Jarius planted him.
Yeah.
Basically, like, what goes, like, you play that, rewind, play, like, what's the
I did. I did. Because you're like a proud papa when you see that. I mean, that's him. Like, he has a unique, talking about LJ, he just has a unique knack of the timing. I mean, you brought the point up. That may be the toughest guy in the league to press and do that. But he happened to catch him really good, and I think Toub was looking over there, so it took him somewhere else. And did we get a sack on it? Did he throw it away, or?
It was a sack.
I think George might have got it, and that's a piece that, like, you saw it because it was so dynamic, but there are other plays like that where he might just ride him out. We don't really see it. We see the sack, but that's what we call hidden production. I mean, that's hidden production for us. What LJ did, I'll be watching it again sometime somewhere.
Steve, you obviously got a lot of linebackers that you trust, but particularly when you have that look with Nick and Drew on the field at the same time, especially against a quarterback like Josh,
Yeah.
what's that advantage that really gives you?
Well, it's 2 Mike linebackers on the field, so automatically you got 2 guys that can run the show and control things. And I think, to be quite honest, when that happens, I think it helps Nick. Like, he knows that Drew can, talk to the other half of the line, or because Drew knows the exact same things he does. So, and that's part of the chemistry that I've talked about. Those 2 guys are, from the chin to the hairline, and just the mental aspects of the game are outstanding. They're both of them throughout the course of the year. We'll go home at night, we'll watch tape, they'll circle back into my office, and they'll speak of something that I may or may not even thought of, and I say, yeah, we need to do that, or we need to call it. The little thing like, Coach, these 2 words sound the same. 2 different defenses, right? If we keep them the same and we get in the huddle, one guy doesn't, that's a good point, let's change the name of that one. But they think like that. Not every guy does that, but they're both like that. It's great to have them on the field at the same time.
Steve, two things related to Sean McDermott. If I'm not mistaken, you were with the Eagles when he was Andy's
Yeah.
assistant. Do you
Yeah.
remember him that far back?
Oh, God, yeah. Sean and I are really close. He's like my younger brother. Sean basically stepped into each job that I had. Like, so he went, now I wasn't Andy's assistant, but then I was quality control, and when I moved up, Sean took that spot. And then I moved to the linebackers, and he went back and became the secondary coach. And then when I went to the Giants, he became a linebacker coach. So, but Sean and I are really close. He does an outstanding job. I think we knew he would be what he is right now.
Do you see something like that, even in a role like that with Andy, where you're kind of bottom of the totem pole? I mean, can you,
Say,
when he's the personal assistant to
oh,
Andy?
did I know then?
Did you see something in him?
Well, no, listen, Sean was he was actually in the business side of
Oh, that's right.
the Eagles initially, and I would see him, and then I don't remember exactly what happened. Either somebody left, and then when Sean came in to get that spot, we already knew him a little bit, and it was like, oh yeah, he'd be great. I mean, that's how you felt about it. He was organized, and and he was great at what he did.
Just the other part is, it's ancient history probably by now, but, you're one of the former Andy head coaches who coached, former assistants to Andy who coached against him. What was that experience like?
Going against Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, challenging, and it was the Eagles, and he had Donovan and a bunch of talented, Brian Westbrook, that was a headache, with Donovan and Brian when I was in New York, and then certainly I think where I was,
Rams,
but
I think, didn't you?
yeah, Rams when they was with the Eagles had Michael Vick, that was another headache. We opened up against them in St. Louis. You know what I remember about that game? The very first play from scrimmage we had on offense, Steven Jackson scored a touchdown, but popped his quad or something and didn't play the rest of the game. Danny Amendola was our best wide receiver, got hurt in the second quarter. Our best corner went down. We had him I'll tell you, we had him beat, I thought. I thought we had him beat, and then all these guys, and they beat us at the end. And that was the opening. That's what I remember. You got me going. Then we had to see Travis right up there. They came to New York when I was with the Giants, but we beat them in that game. Put like 3 guys on Travis.
Last one, Nick.
Yeah, Steve, for you going into the Buffalo atmosphere and everything, what type of tempo or mentality are you wanting you guys to set early on? Is it a kill the engine type of game or something?
Yeah, I mean, that's always part of it, and that's kind of our term for tackling. But listen, you go into a setting like that, there is a little bit of, let's make sure we survive what comes early, because there is a lot of that, and then thrive. We talk about surviving in that kind of environment and then thriving through it, and hopefully we can do that in the game. But we expect it to be a great atmosphere. That's what the Buffalo fans are like, and then that team. They're really pretty good. It's a heck of a challenge. It's good to be playing in it, but it's a good challenge.
Thank you, everybody.
You got it. All right, have a good day.
Good. All right, go ahead.
I was just asking Steve about this, and obviously Andy has a bit of a coaching tree and been on it and played him. I just wonder about the feeling of what it was like to play against, for lack of a better term, your mentor, and perhaps maybe that speaks somewhat to what Sean faces when he plays him.
Yeah, it always starts off when you're playing somebody that knows you well. Mentally, hey, do they know your playbook, offense, defense, et cetera? But then there's also the personality side of it, is how do they game plan within the building. Again, speaking of Sean, when I first got my first job in the NFL, I was his quality control coach. So I was doing I was typing up all of his defensive game plans, and kind of had the ins on how he worked and how much he didn't sleep. I don't know if he's getting more sleep now or not, but little things like that. But a lot of respect for him. And I think, like, when you have guys within the tree, for me, Doug Peterson, a lot of guys, they're all over the league. You have a respect factor for them and what they do schematically. But in the end, they also change. They adapt. They get with other people that have ideas and suggestions, and then you kind of create your own. And I think Sean's done a phenomenal job with that.
Does that add to the cat and mouse in a way from each side? I mean, that there is some template for how you guys have known each other over the years? Or
It might add a little bit, but not much. And then you throw Coach Reed and Sean into the mix and how much they've played each other, over the years in the battles. I think more than anything, there's probably a little bit of, okay, he's done this X amount of times in this situation, trying to think through that. But in the end, all of the great coaches, they stick to what they do, and they figure out ways to work to their players' strengths. And I think that's Sean's done a great job with that. Coach has done a great job, and there is a little bit of it, but probably not as much as we all think.
Yeah, when you look at the problems in the red zone lately, the other day you had the penalty that wiped out one touchdown.
Yep.
Travis dropped a pass, probably would have been another touchdown. There was the bad snap on the third down.
Sure.
I mean, is it just a case of you guys making mistakes at the wrong time, or are there bigger issues when you're down there in the red zone right now?
No, that's a part of it. It's unfortunate because we feel like, okay, you eliminate turnovers, you eliminate penalties, and now you get in the red zone, let's put up touchdowns. And we've had some games this year where there's been a lot of field goals and not as many touchdowns when you need that. There's been some this year where sometimes you play, you don't, I forget what game it was a few weeks ago, but you're not getting touchdowns, but you're chipping away with the threes. We don't want that. We know we need touchdowns. And so we definitely lock in and focus on not just the execution of the plays that you mentioned, but also schematically, what are we doing? How can we do our part to help the players out? Whatever that is, there's a lot that goes into that. But we know that we need to be better. And that's going to help our defense out, get more points and allow them to play complementary football and stay away from field goals. If we're not punting, then we need to score, and if we're going to score, let's get touchdowns.
I know the goal is always to get a touchdown, but with your defense as good as it is, you mentioned, the field goal thing is working.
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 field goals has been winning you games too. Like, is there a balancing act of let's not give away the 3 that, because Bucker's pretty automatic this year. Let's not give away the 3 we have in our pocket.
Yeah, that's a great point. Probably the biggest thing is it's whenever you have third down and you don't get it and you're kicking a field goal, there's always a little bit of, everybody naturally, you have a little bit of frustration coming off the field because you're getting 3. But like you said, if you're getting into the red zone, whether it's with help by the defense or special teams or you're moving the football on your own to get there, red zone drives are important statistically. Now, the great teams have red zone drives, a lot of red zone drives with touchdowns, and now that's tough to stop with this defense as well. So, it's great to have field goals. You want points, but defenses are changing a little bit schematically on what they're doing, and that's always a part of this too, is like how are they adapting to what offenses are doing, and then what are offenses doing to counter attack that. So there's a little bit of everything, and we know that we gotta, in these games, you gotta score touchdowns.
Now, related to the complementary aspects you've been talking about, I think Patrick threw the ball away 7 times the other day. I'm not sure, but that's one of the highest numbers. Does that reflect a little of what you've been saying, that recognize that?
Yeah, there's probably a little bit of that in there. Not that you want to throw the ball away, but if you're going to take a 9-yard sack or a throwaway, you're going to take the throwaway. If something's not there, you want to make sure that you don't, you're being smart with the football. And I think Pat's always had that over time. I mean, there's been some throws where he's made some, no, oh yeah, great throw. Maybe not as many of those right now, but it's all about being smart, and that goes to that complementary football.
On Rashee Rice, obviously, the statistics suggest he's a pretty quick learner.
Mm-hmm.
When did you understand that about him, and was it in meetings or on the field? How did you see him grow?
Probably. No, it's on the field in the game is when you see it. So, specifically, I feel like against the Dolphins, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I can't give you an exact reason. I just feel like around that time, you could really feel like, okay, it's starting to click with him. Whether it's in practice, the tempo, him getting in and out of the huddle. We've been talking over training camp, right, about getting out of the huddle and getting lined up and just trying to run the play the right way. He's way past that now. Now he gets up to the line of scrimmage, he's seeing what the defense does, and now he can let his natural ability take over. Probably midseason, around that time, is when I felt like it clicked. The beauty is that he wants to be coached, he wants more. And I think the other thing, too, is, and it's hard for everybody that's not in the building to see it, but these other players around him are helping him out, too. That wide receiver group, you see guys in there, the veteran guys that are really helping him and becoming coaches themselves, which is great. You need that. And so everybody all in all, and he knows he has a lot of room to grow, but he's done a great job.
Last one, Todd.
You guys had some operational issues, getting the line of scrimmage and all that stuff. At Christmas Day was a rough one. You guys talked about wanting to get that fixed. It looks like it really has been fixed. What were the keys to that? Is it more quicker communication in the headset, or just how's that operate?
It's a little bit of everything. Yeah, you have to. We always, you guys know, as coaches, we got to start with ourselves and how are we letting the players play fast? So whatever that is, whether it's a personnel, whether it's the length of a play call, whether it's subbing guys in and out, allowing the players to play fast, allowing Pat to play fast, and when you do that, usually good things happen. And I think, but at the same point in time, the players then they also got to understand. Working together so that when they do play fast and they know what they're doing, you're going to eliminate those penalties, eliminate the mistakes, the things that we were getting frustrated over. So that's what we did, and I think that's growth for us. But we know in the end we want more touchdowns. We want to score more, but there's a process to it.
Okay, one more.
Matt,
Yeah, go ahead.
Back to Rice for a second. You guys have increasingly gone to him as the season's gone on in big situations. Was there a point where you started to feel comfortable with that, and why? What did you see from him to let you know he could handle that kind of thing?
Yeah, again, it was probably around mid-season. I can't say an exact time. I mean, there was some sprinkled plays where I think you'd see the explosiveness of how he is on a play, and sometimes it's not always just one or two plays. There are 5 catches that he has for 100 yards. It might be more so of us feeling, hey, this is clicking with him. There's not a lot of mental mistakes. When we get together Monday morning and watch tape, we're seeing it's clean. And so as a coach, when you have guys that don't make the same mistake twice, you love that. And that's what he's done.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Patrick. Take care.
Sneed, you got a timeline on
What do you like about this time of year?
I love it. I'm here with my brothers, and this one we come together as a whole, and do what we do.
I assume you guys have a time where you break down the whole game that you just played on film and everything. When you jammed Tyreek Hill all the way to the ground, what was the...
Well, everybody was happy for me, but I've been doing it all year. It's just something that it's Tyreek, so they made it big for what it was. But
What did Spagnuolo say to you?
He was happy for me. He was like a proud dad.
I saw Tyreek on Twitter said you jammed him all the way to Cancun. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw. I actually commented up under and laughed at him. Yeah, I think it was kind of funny.
How important is it to put that game away though?
It's very important. We're in playoffs. That's behind us. We set the standard of who we are, and we're just trying to keep moving forward. We got goals that we want to meet, and that's the Super Bowl.
What are the biggest challenges you're going to get from the Bills?
They're good all the way around, well coached, great players. They're gonna fight to the end. They also got a great defense. So we just got to match their defense.
You guys have battled with Josh Allen several times. I know there was a play here a couple weeks ago or a couple years ago. He was out running, trying to jump over you.
Right.
I mean, how tough is that part of his game?
Oh man, we stopped him from running around. I know them guys up front is gonna do that, like they did previously, and we stopped him up front. It's a challenge, but the guys they can do it.
Well, L'Jarius, you've had a full season now of kind of traveling with the opponent's top receiver. How do you feel like you've done?
Oh man, I think I still have more work to do. They steady sleeping on me, so I still got a point to prove.
Stephen Diggs, what are the challenges he provides?
He's a great receiver. smart, you know, a great route runner, and I think that's why he's been hard worker. That's why he's been one of the top receivers in the league.
Is he a talker?
Yeah, he's definitely a talker. I am too, though.
L'Jarius, can you describe how much Mike Edwards has meant to you guys, especially filling in for Brian as he had to? What kind of differences he made?
Oh man, from seeing Mike come in, from when he first got here to now, it's very proud to see how he progressed from the things, the moves that he made when going on through the season.
And coming with some key plays, obviously, those sort of explosive defensive plays, I guess you might call them, those been significant for you guys?
Definitely. You know, Mike been helping us out, scoring touchdown, making turnovers, big plays, and yes, it's been helping us out tremendously.
L'Jarius, wasn't it you who went to Steve Spagnuolo and said, hey, I'd like to travel with the...
Yeah, we had conversations, you
But
know.
that was your kind of suggestion, right?
Yeah, we had conversations about it, and he just, you know, thought about it, and he told me he was going to let me know.
What told you would play well in that?
Oh, man, you know, I told Spaz, just throw me anywhere on the field. I'll play. If it's D-line or whatever you want to throw me, I'll play it.
L'Jarius, you know, there's plenty of guys get to the league a different way, right? First round picks and stuff like that. The path that you've taken to get to where you are, and there's a big payday coming for you next year because you're going to be a free agent. You played so well. Have you stopped to kind of reflect about that journey and maybe what it might mean to you here in the future with how well you played?
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't say it's all about the payday. You know, I say, you know, I've been facing challenges all my life. You know, it's always been like this for me. I always had to prove myself. I always been underdog. So, you know, it's just something that I always been doing my whole entire life, and I'm gonna continue to do it. Keep me hungry.
Sorry, I apologize for interrupting. There was a little bit of a hubbub, J.J. Watt, and some people talking about being upset about Pro Football Focus's grades, you know, they grade players and everything.
They suck.
You ever, what's that?
They suck.
Okay.
They suck.
Question. Didn't even ask.
Anybody else? Last one. Thanks, L'Jarius.
All right, thank y'all.